So how is Betfair's £500 loss limit for under 25s going to affect the betting exchanges over the short, medium and longer terms? I want to talk about it in this video as there's lots of questions following yesterday's upload which ruffled a few feathers. If you haven't seen it already, check it out. We'll put a link in the description down below and in the end screen for this video. But before we get on with this, I just want to apologise to the vegans that were offended in yesterday's video. Who knew that would happen? So let's get straight into it. What do the changes mean for liquidity on betting exchanges, in particular Betfair? Now, I think first and foremost, it's fair to say it's not going to make things any better, is it? It's not going to add more opportunity to the marketplace. It's not going to make betting fairer on a lower margin, and it's certainly going to prohibit some people from taking activity on their exchanges and potentially into the future, which is a shame. So exchange liquidity is going to go down. People that are particularly arbitrage betting, match betting between different providers are going to be hit the hardest, and it's going to spell a problem for them, particularly when it comes to submitting heaps of documents and proof of ID, source of wealth and all that guff that bookmakers use against people when they're winning. And also for exchange traders in particular, like myself, it's going to have some kind of impact over the longer term, I expect, although probably not as bad as it may appear on first glance. If I look at the demographics from my audience, from the analytics on my YouTube and my website, I can tell you that 26% of people are between the ages of 18 and 25, and therefore they're going to be hit straight away. So they're going to be impacted directly. Beyond that, the following bracket, which is the largest bracket of 25s to 35s, is going to be 36% of people that are not going to be directly impacted, although there's going to be plenty of knock-on effects for them. Now, Betfair say around 35,000 accounts are going to be affected by this impact directly. If you know corporate waffle and spiel that's in the media, that probably means that there's going to be a considerable amount more. But of those 35,000 accounts, I think it's fair to assume that a large portion of them is most certainly going to be match betting or arbitrage betting on low incomes for younger people that are topping up their money each month by extracting money from bookmakers' bonus offers, which, as I said previously in the last video, I think could be part of the motivator that they do this, because they don't like people draining their marketing budget and making a profit from them. And it's also another reason that they shouldn't be able to self-regulate like this. So what does it mean for users directly, for anyone that doesn't understand? Because also I've noticed in a lot of comments that there's people outside of match betting, trading, the exchanges, that don't really have much of a clue about betting, that are very opinionated about this. So for example, if you're using a betting exchange and you place a lay bet, that is to take somebody else's bet, to bet that something won't happen, your exposure can go over £500 really quite easily. For example, if you place a £50 lay at 10 to 1, then your exposure is £500 straight away. Therefore, that's you done for the month if that selection should then go on to win. If you break it down further, two lay bets a month of 50 quid at 5 to 1, shorter odds, then you're going to hit that £500 exposure very easily. Or even one lay bet of £25 at 5 to 1 per week will see you go over that limit really quite quickly, let alone laying for £100 at 5 to 1. Again, not a huge bet. It's all about liability and exposure here. So when you place a lay bet, you outlay some liability, because the chance of it actually happening is very low. Now, this is where it hits traders, and if we look at the traded volumes on betting exchanges, you can see that these figures are hit routinely again and again in every event, every single day, over and over. It's really not hard to go over £500 exposure, and if you do, you're then locked out for a month, and you can't let variance play out that might be part of your system or strategy, particularly if you're match betting or arbing, whereby it would be totally normal. For example, if you open up a bookmaker's account to get their bonus offer, you have to bet £25 and then lay it off on the exchange. You could see yourself hitting that £500 exposure very quickly and then not actually getting the free bet bonus that you signed up for in the first place if you're under the ages of 25. On top of that, if you're exchange trading, all the liability is done on the exchange. My audience will know all about this, but if you make a FUPA and you get caught in play, or even worse, Betfair's exchange goes down through technical outages, something that was discussed in a previous call a couple of weeks back with their sports director, then you could see yourself hitting that £500 liability exposure really quite quickly through no fault of your own, which then means that you're locked out for future activity for a period of time. Now, the other thing that people have brought up and asked in questions and comments is, Is this going to be applied to exposure? Is this going to be applied to settle bets? Are the betting firms such as Betfair in this instance with the exchange, are they going to be able to say, oh yeah, no, we'll accept the fact that you're arbitrage betting between Bet365 and Betfair, and so you've not actually got the £500 liability. You're not losing £500. You're just saying, I'm going to back a selection with Bet365 and lay a selection with Betfair, and they're going to cancel each other out, so I get a free bonus. Okay, are Betfair going to be interested in that? And the answer is, we've already seen from previous activity, although they try and do what they can on Betfair's part, they're just not going to be interested in that. It's a huge amount of paperwork, a huge amount of bureaucracy for a lot of accounts, and why would they want to do that? It's far easier for them to just restrict the account, close it, and cut you off at the knees, which I don't think is very reasonable whatsoever. Now, going on to liquidity overall for the exchange and into the future, longer term, I think it's fair to say that, over a longer period of time, as this phases in, it's going to reduce or have some kind of impact on liquidity. Big spenders are typically over 25, so it might not have as big an impact as you may think at first. It certainly won't be immediate. Time will only tell, I guess, and we'll only see if it really makes much of a difference. On top of that, as other people have already said, it will just move the problem. So people will start using different people's accounts, older people's accounts, maybe in their family, and also people, if they've got a problem, I'm not saying they'll all do this, it will certainly help some, maybe, really not very effectively, but they can walk into the high street, go to Ladbrokes, then go to William Hill, then go to the next one and the next one and the next one, and get around these restrictions like this. So I don't think this is going to work. But behaviour is deeply ingrained, so chances are that 18 to 25 segments, in terms of exchange liquidity and activity over the longer period of time, are going to be less interested. So by the time they get to 35, are they then going to start all of a sudden? I really think it's less likely. I can say from my own position, I started trading on Betfair's exchange, made a full-time income from it before the age of 25, so I think it's highly unlikely that I'd even be here if this restriction had existed in the past, and it certainly hasn't done me any harm. In fact, it's massively enhanced my life and improved my life. Now, people might say, oh, you're making your money from problem cases. I don't see it like that. You have to be an adult to register a betting account. Everybody has their own responsibility. And that's just my view of it. But in terms of liquidity for the exchanges, it's a dream killer. It's really going to be a problem, and I think it's a sign of what's likely to come in the future. And maybe this is just what bookmakers wanted, so that they could actually restrict and kill off betting exchanges to make more moolah in the casino or on their sportsbook, which is where the real problems are.